Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam Rasulullah. You're listening to Islam Tomorrow. We're broadcasting live. Almost live. Almost live. We're not hooked up right now. Okay. From South Bend, Indiana. We've had a great program here tonight talking about women. We just had one lady enter into Islam. And by the way, the door is still open for others. I don't want to leave that out. We have some questions here, and I'd like to try to provide an answer. But I tell you, many times, if you know me very well, you know that I don't really like the questions part. Because what I talk about is stuff I already know really good, and it's hard to catch me in stuff that I study. Because I read it, I know about it. But when you ask me a question, then you can find out how much I really don't know. So I always say, well, if you have, question and answer period, there's two words here, question and answer. So if you'd like to send me the answers, I'll try to figure out the questions. Like Jeopardy? I don't mind. Alhamdulillah. Okay, first question, was Allah ever born? This is a good question. A lot of people, not Muslim, ask such a question. Was Allah ever born? According to the Bible, no. According to the Old Testament and the New Testament, no. According to the Quran, no. Allah is eternal. He's without beginning and without end. And it's also in the old language called Alpha and Omega, means the beginning and the end. He is without beginning, without end. He is eternal, and there's nothing like Him. And Allah said the same thing in the Quran, that He is al-awwal wal-akhir, the first and the last. He is always and eternal. And there's one word, as-samad, which is one of His names, which is eternal. So Allah is without beginning and without end. He always was and always will be. A very good question. And according to the Bible, God is not a man, nor is He the Son of Man. You read that in the book of Numbers, chapter 23, verse 19. You read it again in the Quran, in chapter 112, called Qul Huwallahu Ahad. That's the name. Ikhlas is actually the name of it. It's not, the word is not there, but in the surah. It says, Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. He's not the son of anything, he's not the father of anything, and there's nothing that compares to Him, because He is ahad, which means one and uniquely one, nothing else like Him. Good question, thank you. Next question, what are the 99 names of Allah? Well, you got me. I knew if I kept going I was going to get caught. No, I did not memorize all 99 names yet. But what does it mean? These are the characteristics, attributes of Allah that describe the epitome of each one of those attributes. For instance, Allah is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahman comes from Rahama. Ar-Rahim comes from the same root, Rahama. And it means that He is so merciful, so beneficent. He is so gracious that there is none that can compare to His graciousness and His mercy. He is the epitome of that. He is the merciful. You can be a merciful person, but He is all merciful. So each one of these is all and totally. He is a sabur, which means steadfast, persevering, and patient. But it doesn't mean He has it, it means He is it. Totally. Where you can have some patience, but it doesn't last, whereas He is totally and completely patient. He is al-Ghafur, which means the forgiving. He is the forgiver, all forgiving. None can forgive like He can forgive. And in fact, He tells us in the Quran that He forgives everything except one thing, and that's when people make partners with Him in worship. That He doesn't forgive. So when we talk about His characteristics or His name, what we're talking about are His attributes, and He is the epitome of every attribute. So I hope that answered your question. As far as how many did I memorize, not even half of them yet. But I'm working on it. Give me time, inshallah. Next. Can men wear 1 or 2 earrings? You were doing so good on the other questions. I can't believe you did that. Okay. In Islam, we know from the Quran, Allah tells us about the people who alter the creation of Allah. And they used to have superstitions, and they would cut or mark the animals. They would, mark them and even put earrings and things like this in their cattle and their sheep, things like that. Allah forbids that. He doesn't like us altering the creation. For this reason, and that's a good reason, we don't tattoo ourselves or brand ourselves or put holes in our body and things like that. However, the women do it, and my wife did it, my daughters did it, and they gave all their proofs for what they did, so I had to shut up. But I don't know. I don't like to see men wearing earrings because really I'm afraid that this is going in an area we don't need to go into. But I'm not going to say that somebody's kafir because they got an earring. I think that's wrong too. I think what we should say is that's not the best thing you can do with your money or your time. And if a woman likes to see a man with no beard and wearing earrings, I get to wonder, what kind of woman is this that wants her husband to look like another woman? Okay, next question. How many programs do I do? I don't know. No idea. We have thousands of them recorded, but an average might be 5 to 10 programs per week, and hardly any weeks off. Where do I go next? I hope I get to go home to change clothes before I go to Australia. But look for us down in Australia, inshallah. Inshallah. Alhamdulillah. If a woman has to go to the hospital due to a sudden emergency condition, the only doctor is a male, then what should she do? Well, that's already happened in my family. We already looked into that one a number of times because my wife has to go 3-4 times a week, every week. She's had cancer, she's had a number of other problems, and the things that happen after you have the treatments, she suffers every single day. Nobody really can compare men to women because I've seen the suffering she does without mentioning a word. And I just told you, we can't even take a paper cut and we're crying all the time. But we did find out that when there's no woman doctor available, that a male doctor suffices because that's it's called darura in Arabic, which means it's a necessity and you can't help it. It's not something you want, but it's something you have to do. You know, there's no compensation that she has to pay for that. That is what Allah gave her to deal with, and she did her best. And my wife, by the way, my wife, it's her opinion that women are better off to cover their faces. She doesn't say it's wajib. She never told anybody they had to, but she said, I just like that. That's her opinion. So, because she also had a problem with something on her tooth or jaw, it was really bad, bothering her so bad. She had to show that. So what she did, she just pulled this up and let them look at that. That's it. So, you know, that means you tried your best to do whatever it was. So whatever they have to look at, they have to look at. May Allah, forgive us for any shortcomings. But Allah is very forgiving. He even talks about that to the women in Surah An-Nur, chapter 24, in verse 31, when he talks about how he's forgiving for what women can't help. And this may or may not be included there, but surely Allah, He is very forgiving. I want to talk about celebration of birthdays, celebrating marriage anniversaries. Why is it forbidden, or is it forbidden? Well, the Prophet ﷺ is the guide for us. If he did something, you should do it. When he saw other people having different kinds of celebrations, he said himself that we have 2 celebrations. This is from him. It's called Eidain, and this is what he said. So with respect to those who like to celebrate things and say we celebrate his birthday, we celebrate our birthday, we celebrate, Washington's birthday, all these different things, this is not what he told us. And when it comes to celebrating his birthday, he said specifically, do not eulogize me as the Christians eulogize my brother Jesus. Meaning, don't fall into the same trap. And usually when we find people who celebrate the birthday of the Prophet ﷺ, we find that they also have other innovations they like to add along with that too. And another, and another, and another, and another. And where will it stop? So, when will you stop? I mean, if you said, well, maybe it's okay. But the Prophet ﷺ warned us about the things which are in doubt. He said halal is clear, haram is clear, and then there's these doubts. Leave the doubtful. This is preservation of your own deen. And if you want to celebrate his birthday, at least I warned you, and on the Day of Judgment, I'm free from that. But I won't say that it's haram, because if I did that, that might be too far. But I tell you, it's not good. You're asking a question about women, and I want to answer it. In Surah Al-Ahzab, chapter 33, verse 50, you said 58, it's not, it's verse 59. But anyway, that's okay. It says, Ya ayyuhan nabi, which means, oh my nabi, or my prophet, tell your azwajika, which is your wives, wa binatika, which is your daughters, and the believing women. You didn't put that in here, but it was to all the women. This is not just to his wife, and it's not just to his daughter. This is to all the believing women, that they have to cover themselves. They have to totally cover themselves with abaya when they go out. Now, there's different words that Allah used in Quran. The other word that He used in Surah An-Nur was the word khimar, and the khimar used to be worn in the back of the head. They knew what that was because a lot of women wore it, just wore it. That was a custom. And He ordered them to draw it down or drop it over their juyubihinna, which is the chest area where the cleavage is, and they have to bring it down over. And that's exactly why so many of the women of the time, from the Meccan women, covered their faces as well, because it was just real easy. Drop that down, cover it all up, and they called them black crows, because you couldn't tell anything except that it was black wherever they went. So, as far as being annoyed, it means so that women will not be annoyed by what? By men staring at them. You may not be aware of this, but I think many of you are. There's something in Islam called the evil eye. The ayn is something very serious. Nobody wants it. We seek protection from it in the Quran. Allah warns us about it, and how we seek protection. We ask Allah for protection from these things in the last 2 surahs. You should recite them every night. Ladies, men, both of you, you should recite this, because it is protection. This is very good. The Prophet ﷺ, when it was revealed, he never left off doing that. So we should do the same. Now, when a woman is going around without being properly covered, there are men, non-Muslim and Muslim, and we're just saying men in general, who will look at you with the evil eye, because they say, "Hey baby, hey what's up, hey." Or even in their heart, and it's still the ayn on you. And Allah is warning you. That's why we warn the sisters, don't turn your hijab into artwork. Don't turn your hijab into an attraction, because that was the whole idea to start with, that you're not trying to cause people to stare at you. And you go out here and you've got, I'm sorry to mention, but some of our sisters, they got signboards with messages about Allah, about Islam, across their chest, across their back. They're walking around with they think they're wearing hijab, they got a scarf on and blue jeans. But men are looking at you, and Allah is telling you how to avoid this kind of annoyance. It doesn't mean that, because I know what some sisters' argument is. You know what they told me? Well, if I wear hijab, I'm calling attention to myself. If I'm here with the non-Muslim ladies, I could just dress like they do and nobody notices me. That isn't what Allah said. Don't let the sisters come to you and twist that. You sisters all wearing hijab, you know. But these other sisters, when they come with that stuff, don't let them pull that on you, because that's not what Allah said, and you know that's not the meaning. It's a big test. I don't want to be a woman. Alhamdulillah, I'm a man. I don't want the test of a woman. It's too hard. I couldn't do it. I don't know how women can do it. I told my wife many times, a hijab, I told her, we were riding down the road. My wife does all the driving, by the way. They don't let me drive. If you ever rode with me, you know why. I have 2 gears, fast and faster. And I don't need a brake, because I'll hit something eventually. So, they don't let me drive. So here's my wife driving.